and Collaboration Media family. Adjust your viewing device. Turn the volume up high so the neighbors can get this fire. Tell a friend to tell a friend. It's time for the show. Authentic, inspiring, changing the culture, and normalizing kindness. The revolution is now. With your neighborhood counterculturist, it's the Counterculture Show.
Please welcome.
With your host, Al the Great.
What's up, family? What's up, CNC family, my counterculturalist family? Like the intro said, I am your host, Al the Great, your neighborhood counterculturalist, and we are all about bringing you all the fire without the smoke. And we are on a mission to change hearts, right? We are on a mission with this show to change hearts. We have made cruelty and shame so mainstream that normalizing kindness seems like revolutionary. You know, it doesn't seem like it could possibly be done, but we are here to do that with everything that we have going on. The Counterculture Show presents a counterculture, Good Steward Apparel, which is one of our brands. We have 3 brands all focused on using fashion as a vehicle to spread a message of counterculture. And then we also have a collaborative organization called United Front Worldwide, which is building that counterculture to normalize kindness and eradicate inhumanity, because that's what it's all about. That's what the show is all about. So thank you for taking the time to join me on your Monday night. I appreciate you. So if you are hearing this Southern twang, make sure that you go ahead and share. Go ahead and tell a friend to tell a friend. Go ahead and share. And you guys don't want to miss this conversation. Hopefully we don't have any smoke, in this conversation. Hopefully it's going to be all fire. But I think, we try not to hurt any feelings, but sometimes the truth hurts. But hopefully we won't have no smoke. I don't know what the guests, I don't know what they got planned. But let me bring in my guests. First, we have Miss Tanya Walker of Walker Reconstruction. And
Hi, good evening. How are you?
So tell the people about yourself. Tell the people where to find you.
Okay, hi, my name is Tanya Walker, and I started an organization called Walker Reconstruction, LLC. Our purpose is to reconstruct the mind. Our goal is to transform at-risk youth into at-promise youth by teaching them personal development skills. We want those personal development skills to teach them how to be mentally, physically, and spiritually fit for this journey that we call life. Our target audience is age 13, or we'll say middle school, high school, and then young adults. But we genuinely, my partner and I have a business partner named Shamika Pearson, but our goal is to make sure that we change the mindset of the youth. You can't always pick your parents, you can't always pick your home, your school, your teacher, but you can choose your mindset. And so that's what we're out to teach these young adults and these young people in the world today.
I love it. Miss Tanya Walker is for the kids, y'all. She's for the kids.
Yes. And thank you for having me. My 22-year-old daughter has taught me a lot.
All right, now we're gonna bring in your favorite rapper, Mr. Tone Touch. How we doing, bro?
Good. Hey, I'm telling y'all. Look, Tanya said something that really touched me. It's for us, and I really love the fact that you're already doing something. And I'll explain some of that later. We got some common threads now.
It sounds good.
I like that.
Thank you.
Yeah.
All right. I told people a little bit about who you are. Tell them who you are, sir.
Yeah, just hip hop artist. I'll be doing my stuff, man. It's for the city. If you tag it, it's for the freaking city. You got to put it with 3 N's actually. So freaking with the N city. But for that reason, because I feel like certain people pick up on. We'll get into it, but things that are, it's like, it's on the edge. We want to be on the edge a little bit. We like that. But at the same time, I ain't saying the effing like the effing. So if I did, guess what? We'd be on a whole nother platform right now. But I'm saying it for the freaking. All right.
Well, we like to on CNC. We like to keep it PG-13.
Exactly. You know what I'm saying? That's what we doing right now. We doing it for the culture.
Amen. Amen.
I love it. I love it. We doing. Look, I like to say we doing it for the counterculture.
Amen.
That's even better.
I forgot to tell people
better,
where
bro.
to find me.
That's even look. That's even better. I agree with you with that. Let's do it.
And feel free. What's your website, Tanya?
I messed up already. The website is at WalkerReconstructionLLC.com. If you go on Facebook, it's also Walker Reconstruction LLC. If you go on Instagram, it's Walker Reconstruction LLC. If you go on Twitter, I might be there, I might not in terms of actually being active, but the website's Walker Recon LLC. Thank you.
All right, sound like we got a little feedback. I just muted you, Tone. Just kind of mute when you're not talking because it sounds like you're getting us some feedback.
Okay, we'll do.
All right, before we get into this conversation, we got to shout out the sponsor, my brand.
Absolutely.
Good Steward Apparel. Doing it for the counterculture. So you guys just hold up while we hear from Good Steward Apparel.
I pray for this is the day I pray for. Tell me now, what do you see? Tell them all that him is free. And he no stress, him just blessed. He still dressed down to the T. And him no care how you speak. As long as got blessings over me. Fall down, all in my rage. When they say no. He said yeah. When he say go. I say, where? Come on. And this is the day I pray for. This is the day I pray for.
All right, shout out to J Lock who did the music for that. And this is all the walk is from the fashion show, and the model is Max, and who killed it. That set is one of my favorites. Like y'all, this summer I love short sets. I want to make things as easy as possible. I can put on a short set, it matches. Look, I'm going about my day. And still look good in the process.
I love it.
And look, they if you want some hoochie daddy shorts, we got some of them too.
I think we'll pass.
All right, so getting into this conversation, we're talking about a culture of degrading women. And what I found with doing the research, like I'm sure all of us know this is nothing, it's nothing new. Like this culture of degrading women has been going on as long as there have been women in the world. And let me rephrase that. The culture of objectifying women has been around since women have been in the world. So I think when we get to degrading, we are on a whole new level. I think right now, like in music, we are on a whole new level. Like we didn't went from all the way past go from objectifying to full out degrading women. And it's been going on, maybe the last 10, 20 years, we it's gotten bad. So the idea of degrading women in music, like I said, is not new. We have seen it in most genres. Women were first objectified in like the 1960s. Like that is when the 1960s, if you think about it, 1960s is when the sexual revolution was, and women got tired of being in cooking and cleaning. They got tired of those I Love Lucy days, and they wanted to be free. So, and the interesting thing though, and it's one of the questions, like who started objectifying women first? Was it women or was it men? And we're gonna go to that, go through that. And I'm mainly talking about in music, right? So, like I said, we moved for a full out denigration in the last, 20 years. And this show is like all about changing hearts. And our hearts / emotions are the true eyes and how we perceive the world. People don't care about facts no more. It's all about how you feel. And that is going to say if what someone is saying, if they're going to be receptive to the information or not. I know we have all seen this, and it is a very unfortunate thing, but has been going on a long time too. So what I want us to get out of this show is I really want us to look at, we are all about presenting that counterculture. I want us to look at women as image bearers of God. As men, as a culture, we are missing out on what women truly have to offer because we are limiting them to just an assortment of body parts. Right? Like we are limiting them to just body parts, not, necessarily too much in the intellect. Like that is what we are expecting from them. And in music and in culture, we're using them as like trophies and just all kind of like ways to win something. That's what it symbolizes. We win in something. It's all about the game. So that is what I hope to get some clarity out of this conversation and present a counterculture. And I want to jump right in. You guys have anything to say right off the bat?
I'll go first. I think that you're 100% right. And this started well before our time, even somewhat before the 60s. I do think that we should, when it comes to, women in the industry, and I'll just speak from a sense of music, listening to the music, not right now just being a woman, but just, I guess that's what I'm here for. So when it comes to how we got here, I do think that it's mainstream equals money, it equals sex, equals drugs, it glorifies anything that's not healthy. It glorifies dysfunction. And I would agree that over the last 20 years, and I say that especially because my daughter turns 22, and the music she listened to, and her and I both listened to as she was growing up, and since she's gotten older and I've gotten older, it has changed significantly, so much to the point where I understand why she listens to some different genres of music, which I always did. But nonetheless, when it comes to our culture, it's unfortunate that we do hear a lot of unhealthy music. And I do think that it is because of mainstream. I do think that, like I said, they glorify. And now, not only is it glorified, but the industry is diluted with the poison, that we hear. And we got to get to a point, there's no balance anymore. When I was growing up, you would hear the KRS-One, the Eric B. and Rakim, and, the Queen Latifahs and MC Light, my favorite. You would hear those, but two things always existed. You would also hear the Lukes, and you would hear those other artists, Adina Howard, you would hear those other artists too. There was two things that always existed, but I think that the dynamics of family has changed now dramatically. Technology has, there's so much that has changed. There's no buffer anymore when it comes to the amount of the type of music that is filtering through to our kids' ears, and to having a choice in what you can hear. Terrestrial radio plays anything now. I mean, and to me, it doesn't even sound censored, but let them tell it is. But when I was growing up, that's not what terrestrial radio sounded like. And if I wanted to listen to Too Short, I would have to go buy it at Walmart, and he was still censored. So it's just a different world.
But the thing that trips me out, we're in a social media age, and watching some of these videos, and people have some dope content, but watching some of these videos, and you see like whole families dancing to that Busta Rhymes song, "Let Me Put My D in Your Mouth." I'm like, are we not listening to the lyrics? I'm like, there's like little kids dancing. I'm like, man.
Right. And that's what was different then too. I was talking to my friend earlier, and I was saying, when we were younger, I might listen to we'll say now, I may listen to Cardi B. We'll say we do, or Megan Thee Stallion. Say we listen to those, but my kids don't listen to that. Back in the day, there was a separation between what we listen to as adults and what played for our kids to listen to. There's no buffer anymore. You can be 3 years old and download whoever you want and listen to it, and it's uncensored. So I think that's a lot of the reason why over the last couple of decades, it's just been such relentless. Poison.
And we're gonna hear from you, Tone, in a minute. I'm gonna hit you with the first question. So one of the things I really hate is starting off like a story like in the middle. And often, when we're talking about these topics, we like to start them off in the middle. We don't start it like, where did this stuff come from, and which is valuable information. So let's go back to the beginning, and we touched on it a little bit. So how did we get to this place of objectification and degrading women in music? What do you think, Tone?
I'll say first and foremost, hip hop was designed to be about a message. The message is, hey, we here, we've been through it, we dealing with it. So if you search the hip hop culture, it's something based off of the streets and what was going on in the streets. But it was positive. Now the thing about the negative is the negative made money. That's where it happened. Clear and cut, because if you look back in reality TV times, reality TV like Real World, you can look back at it, Real World, MTV, that'll let you know, like, that's when people were like, yo, we'd rather see the ratchet than just people doing their day today. We'd rather see people argue. We'd rather see people twerking. We'd rather see all of that. So it's gradually gotten there where sex sells, and that's what it's come down to. And it doesn't mean that everyone is like that, because guess what? You don't want to marry nobody like that.
Right.
Look, you ain't trying to be in no situation with nobody like that.
Yeah.
Oh, yeah, I met you at the club. Cool. But some people go to the club thinking maybe this person, and guess what? You might find somebody out there like that. That's like, yo, you know what? I was at the club, you was at the club, but at the same time, I think like this. But the conversation has to happen. That's why I like the coffee and conversations.
Mm-hmm.
I love it. Look at that plug.
I like it for that reason.
Nice job.
I like it for that reason. I ain't gonna hold you.
I love it. All right, Shamika gave us a lot. Our Black culture in the denigration is a subculture of all societies who have, like she said, like you said, been objectifying women since the beginning of time. I believe that there is an agenda to kill the family. The family units are strong. Kill the imagery of women. I'm sorry, I cannot read. Imagery of women. Kill the value of women. Kill the value of marriage. Kill the strength of people. There are people who have never listened to country or rock. Everybody has heard rap. It gets the message of the agenda to everyone, the popularity.
Can I say something about that, or can that be my next time around?
No, go ahead.
I don't know. I don't want to overstep.
Go. What you got?
But have like something outside of music that makes me think about that when you said that.
Okay. You want to expand on it more?
So think about this. Think about Hugh Hefner and his legacy. Playboy. Playboy was one of those things where, look at these my women. Look, they all happy, having a good, happy time. And I'm the pimp in a sense. They might even call him that. But it's just so funny because hip hop embraced that in a different way too. Mm-hmm. Rap culture embraced that in a different way too. And guess what? Black women don't act the same as white women. Mm-hmm. Yep. Kill me is the messenger, but I tell you that it does not happen the same way.
I do. Like I agree with some of what she's saying. Like it is like a subcultures. I don't think so. You talked about it a little bit, Tone, about how the music producers and the A&Rs and these companies that pay for the music are the ones that are they are in charge of what's airing.
Right.
And if you are someone, you are somebody Black coming from the hood, you trying to make it out, and you see this as your ticket out. A lot of times that is the explanation of a lot of things.
Understood.
People sell drugs, like all this stuff. You see that as your ticket out. But I do think it is. I try not to be a conspiracy theorist, but I do think there are some actual conspiracies out there. And the way that like I really believe like women are in charge of the world. So the way that
Let's
you
go. I came in this world by a woman.
yeah, like
Don't hold me. So
the way
yeah.
that you make sure that somebody doesn't recognize their power by you degrade them. Like we've seen that, with slavery, we've seen that with many other cultures, like we've seen that all in history. That is the way that you confuse people and you deceive them of their real power. And I think that is what the part of the agenda, kind of like Shamika said. Did you have anything, Tanya?
Yeah, I agree, especially because when you think about how long music has been around, before slavery, during slavery, how powerful it was. And then after slavery, the new era of music, like you said, hip hop, and it was, birthed out of that civil rights movement and the thoughts of freedom and, unity and fun. And, we embraced each other. And then it took a turn. And like you said, it was what pays, what, when it comes to, like you say, wanting to get out of where you've been, get out of the hood or whatever it is, money started to buy the music. But I may not be a conspiracy person either, but I do think that there is definitely the agenda when, it was evident how powerful our music was. It started to be weaponized against us.
Yeah. And I would suggest anybody go and look at the history of black people. Like they teach us about slavery very loosely, but look at the real history of people from Africa all over the world. Like there's a lot of power that came out of there, especially of women, of black women. And what is that movie that's about to come out that is with she was in How to Get Away with Murder. She was the main one. It's gonna come to me. This is what old age do to you. But the movie is about essentially I think it's called Woman King or something. Viola Davis. There we go.
You're talking about Viola Davis. Okay, I'm thinking. I'm showing my age. I'm thinking about something.
Yeah. So there are like real stories, especially of a African tribe of women that held off Alexander the Great. Like there are real stories out there that really depict the power of women and the power of people. And like I said, this is how you help people not recognize their power by degrade them and you try to take their fire away and their self-esteem. So we all know that it works and it's effective.
Absolutely. And just to add, Shamika and I were talking earlier, and she made a valid point. Ever since the women's rights movement is when, it's like we started to fight for, like you said earlier, wanting to be more than just housewives, more than just stay at home, moms. We wanted to go out into the workforce. It's as though that's when the turn started in, you could say media or mainstream. And it wasn't just music, it was even on TV. We were talking earlier about how, Hardee's uses sex to sell burgers. What are we doing? So it's everywhere. But I would definitely say that's
real talk. That's real talk.
Them Hardee's commercials trip me out. Like who wants to eat a burger and get like all the sauce all over your shirt? Like it trips me out. Like who want to do that? You don't want to eat no burger and mess up your outfit. Like
yeah.
I don't know why I have to buy a burger if there's a lady laying across it. I don't know what Hardee's was doing for a while there back in the day. So, but I think
I have a question. If y'all don't mind me getting to it,
go ahead.
Question, and especially for the awesome lady in the chat, you know what I'm saying? It's for you because if I say something, it's an assumption, and I can't do that. Or I'm just saying what all women think. You speak for that demographic. You know what I'm saying? When you talk. So my thing is, when it comes down to women, for example, if it is like, okay, if I call you a word, cool, but let's say your friends do it. Do you have any talks with people about that? Like, okay, B, all right, B, we good. Like, I know, huh? Like, is it cool then, or is it just like, nah, it's not cool, or what? Does it depend on the person? How does that work in the culture of hip hop as well?
So I think it really gets down to, the video that was, kind of promoting the show, like women, he was talking about how being contradictory, but I think in our own community, black community, like we do the same thing. What's the use? What's the difference between calling somebody B or N? Like it's like and it is like,
yeah, you talking about that. That's the same to me, only because if I call you, hey, that's my but at the same time, I don't know. Somebody else may get off on that, like, yo, I can say it, and every once in a while I might just blurt it out and say it, but it's a racial slur, at that point.
Yeah, no matter what the ending is, it's a derogatory term. Like, and that's one of the things, I'm not even gonna lie, growing up in Durham, I'm sure I definitely, did it. But now as I've kind of gotten older, like the value I have in myself is very important. And I think whether if somebody calls you something a derogatory term and you allow it, like whether you think of it as a term of endearment or whatever, like your subconscious already knows what it is. Like your soul, like they have found that we carry trauma in our DNA. Mm-hmm. So you might be calling, your bro, calling them that's my end, like, but your subconscious, your DNA knows like what that is.
Right. Understood.
I think that's the part of us as Black folks that we have got to let go. We make excuses for why it's okay for us to call each other the N word or the B word and to degrade each other consistently, but we don't hold ourselves accountable. And I'm not saying I'm perfect, but I do like to carry myself and my friends in my circle in a manner of where, we don't sit here and call each other those names. We try to aspire to, better vocabulary for sake, because it makes a difference. And I can't sit here and call my girlfriends be this and be that. And especially if I got a daughter in the room, whether she's there or not, that's not my caliber of conversation. I feel like if, like you said, women rule the world, well, we have to set the bar. And if we set the bar there, then they'll say it. Like you said, Tone told you, if we say it, you'll say it. And then we're doing this chicken before the egg thing. Well, you said it, well, I said it. Well, I mean, it's counterproductive. So we have to get to a point where we are back to calling each other brothers and sisters, kings and queens. Like we have to aspire to do better, not just say, well, they did it. It's okay. It's a term. It's not a term of endearment to me. And if I think that it is, then who else is going to, everyone else is going to think the same. You have to aspire to a different language. We have to change the language.
Yeah, when I had a woman call me a king for the first time, this was not anybody I was dating or anything. This was just like somebody off the street called me a king. That thing did something to my soul. Like
yes,
that thing did something to my soul. Like
I'm big.
Yes.
So we definitely got to uplift each other.
Yes, absolutely.
So Shamika says she worked with teens for 16 years. I encourage them in my presence to call each other brother and sister in my presence instead of the N word and bruh. That brug is worn out too.
Look,
Kimberly, good evening.
Man, my mom did not want. I'll be like, man, and it wasn't like I'm calling her man. It was just like, man, all right. She was like, don't call me man. But I look at that and I'm like, okay. And once again, that's my mom. She gonna demand it. She know it. These days I feel like everybody wants to be accepted, and that's important too to keep in mind, because if acceptance means lowering my bar, then if I don't lower my bar, I'm critical of you, I'm hateful of you, I don't like you. So it's like, how do you do that?
Yeah.
That's just something because I'm getting some good stuff from y'all, and y'all some folks we could have a 3-way call. We just inviting people into it. You know what I'm saying?
Look, we gotta change that culture
for the culture,
for the counterculture.
it's the counter culture.
Y'all look out for that. Y'all look out for that shirt for the counterculture at goodstudapparel.com. It's gonna be coming soon.
Nice.
All right. So one of the things I want to talk about a little bit. I know we talked about it some, but where do you guys think, who was the first to objectify women in music? Because one of the things that I saw, and I do think this is an important part of the conversation, because we know, it gives us valuable information, not to blame anybody, but it gives us valuable information on the mindset and how we got here. So looking at the 1960s, and I talked about that a little bit, this was part of the sexual revolution, and women, artists, musicians, female musicians, they were, in order to get the male crowd, they were almost they were sexualizing themselves to get, to expand their crowd. So we know men jumped on it too, but which one do you guys think came first? And let me know in the chat too. What came first?
I think that's a hard case. I think that.
All right.
Yeah, that's.
I
think you're right. Okay, my friend and I were having a conversation earlier, and she said that it is a man's world. And when music started, we could make the case that music, that, like you said, like she also said, the oldest profession around is prostitution. So it's if this is how we're going to be taken advantage of, and this is what's going to happen, well, then we'll just give it to you, but we want to get paid for it, kind of thing. So that's why I say it's kind of like chicken and the egg. So we were doing music, but then at what point did we say, okay, in the 20s and the 30s, if I say this and I move like that, and I objectify myself as a lady with my music, that the men start to listen more, and this sells, this works, and this is the new dynamic of music. Back to the 20s and the 30s, but who's to say the man didn't tell her, this is how you're going to do your music? Yeah. That
is a great point, because even though these were female artists, I'm sure they had a male manager, somebody who was in charge, that owned the business. Somebody was somebody's possibly putting pressure on them.
Right. So you want to interject?
What you got, Tone? You want to leave it alone? You don't want to go home. You want no smoke when you go home.
This is what we came for, right?
It's an Uncle Luke situation. Uncle Luke gotta talk to y'all about this. And look, it go back to them times. For me, that's the earliest I can remember it. It was on VHS. It was going down.
Yeah.
That's the earliest I can say. I ain't gonna name drop. Too Short, VHS, to Uncle Luke, but my whole thing is this: if it's entertainment, what is entertainment though?
It's whatever sells at this point.
Right. What is entertainment by definition, though?
That's something we got to go.
That's what I'm saying. What gets you going? What excites you? What's enjoyment? And sometimes it may trigger you. It may be like, oh my gosh, this on TikTok. That's entertainment. Now all of a sudden, like TikTok popping off because of that. Back to back to back. It's like, yo, I scroll up. It's hit me. It may be vulgar, but it depends on what you like. That's what I like about TikTok, though. If you don't like that, you're not gonna keep seeing that.
Yeah, you got grandma shaking.
Give it to you.
You on TikTok. You got grandma shaking it like real grandmas.
Don't play. Look,
but that's what a lot of things.
All I'm saying is some people at that point, they think, well, what do people want? And one thing that I think about is reality TV. When I think about reality TV, it wasn't always like that. We just see shows, people going by the script. When it became, hey, we gonna go like this, go like that, you see people arguing. You see somebody going up, taking their shirt off, doing whatever. It's like, oh, I ain't see that in the script. Now, it's become like the more vulgar it is, the more accepted. And there's someone who's gonna say that's cool. They can be like, yeah, that's cool.
Yeah, as long as people gonna do what sells. Right. Unfortunately. But that's one of the reasons that, you know, we are doing this work on coffin collaborations and Good Steward Apparel. Like, that's one of the reasons that we are doing this work, because we have to have a level of, I don't even want to say morality, because morality changes with the culture and it changes, you know, according to the group of people that you're in, you know. But we have to be the ones that will promote those positive things and not buy into those negative things. Like, we have to do that. And that's what the counterculture is all about. The next question. So how has a culture of degrading women affected like our relationships with women? And definitely, you know, speaking from a man, I remember being at work. And this lady asked me, and he was with this guy, and they were having a conversation. And the girl asked me, "Do you have to look?" And it was, you know, all men have had this conversation. Everybody's had this conversation. Women, men, we've had this conversation before. And she said, you know, "Do you have to look?" And the guy was like, "Yeah, you know, if somebody passing by, there ain't nothing wrong with looking." And I was like, "No, like, you don't have to look." But the other thing is, when you look, you don't have to have that mindset what's going through your head. And one of the things, man, I have really had to change the way that I view women, especially when you have daughters and all these other things. Like, I really had to do some counter conditioning, really change the way and mature of how I view women, because your mind and your body can be like, you know, two separate things. Often they talk about how your body is your mind, because so much of what we do is autopilot. You know, your body becomes your mind, because you're not even thinking about the stuff you're doing when you're driving to work. You know, how many times have you know, been going somewhere and you end up somewhere else because it was a different day and, you know, it was out of your routine. Like, your body becomes your mind. So even if you change you try to change the way that you see women. And I think, you know, sometimes we get in this conversation like, is it wrong for me to look? It's wrong for you to look if you didn't took her clothes off and everything in your head. Like, I feel like, okay, that's wrong to do that, because you are objectifying her. And we all know what we think, it does come out. Like, it don't stay in there. Like, you think a thought enough times, eventually it's gonna come out, and it's gonna become a behavior. It's gonna become a mindset. Like, it progresses to something more and more, you know, the more that you think about it. So and I'll let you guys speak in a minute. So the two things I want to look at, like, so just on that part of just looking, and we think about that, if that's an example of how we, you know, how the music has affected, you know, our relationship with women. So men have been conditioned to look, but even if you change your mindset, when you look, it doesn't have to be the same thing. You can admire beauty without undressing somebody, or you can admire fashion or anything else. You know, somebody's in shape. Like, there are a lot of other things that you can admire about a person without, like, undressing them, and you know, you can visualize them in their underwear. So I think that's the two things that we really have to kind of focus on, is focus on that connection with our thoughts and our behavior. And because you still look, that doesn't mean that you're still doing something bad.
Yeah, you made a lot of good points and a lot to unpack there. I agree, and I think that I would say that has to do with maturity. You know, that's part of it. But to answer the question at first, how it's impacted, you know, how we interact with women is definitely relationships in general, and how we put, what type of value that we put on in our culture, what type of value we put on relationships. You know, Black love is there's a show called Black Love that I love, and I love it because it really magnifies what love looks like, what healthy looks like, what being in a relationship looks like. The music is teaching us that it's supposed to be dysfunctional, that it's supposed to be objectifying, and that's not what it's all about. And I think that is a huge, it's a problem. I mean, it's definitely a problem. But to also capitalize on what you were saying in terms of, do you look or do you not look? I think what you said is so relevant, because I've dated men and they've looked and I've looked and I'm like, that's a beautiful lady. And you can do it respectfully without Google and looking for 5 minutes, and then you still turning your head and you still wondering, we both saw her. She was beautiful and she's gone. So I just think that there's levels to this, but I think that also has to do with maturity. And I think that our music lacks maturity by far. And it does not value relationships at all. And when I was growing up, you had the LL Cool J's talking about love. There were so many more people or artists, I'll say, that talked about love. And now it's so few. Even like the Avants aren't really out there anymore. And there are a few artists, I love Major, This Is Why I Love You. If we need more of that. We need to magnify those voices so much more, because love isn't dysfunction. Relationships isn't dysfunction. And we're just teaching the wrong things in the music. And it's unfortunate because there's a lot of people that are singing this stuff and they're just faking it so they can make it. So, and that's a whole nother show probably, but go ahead. You're on mute.
I like what you said, that it's ruining relationships. Like, I think in another show we talked about marriage, and I think we talked about on Coffee and Collaborations, we talked about marriage, and I think we talked about the effects of porn on a marriage. Like, there is a certain point, you expect this out of your partner. Like, what man doesn't want, a freaky woman, in behind closed doors?
Right, sing the song.
but when you objectify that woman, and you see, just like in the music videos, and you see like porn, you get married and you're not trying to do that, do the foreplay, like the real foreplay that women want. Have conversations, watch movies, talk about your day. Like, you just want to get to, you want to get to the main event. Like, that's it. Like, you want to, like, when I come in the door, you should be already naked.
Right. But that's what music is teaching us, that relationships are about sex. And that's not what relationships are. Relationships are about partnership, love, healthy things. But we're stuck on sex. That's the bonus. That's supposed to be the plus side. But we start with that. Like you said, you come in and we're supposed to be naked. That's not relationships. So, but that's what music, unfortunately, is teaching. And that's why we have to change the language. And we have to get to a point where the voices that speak Black love and split or just love and speak, but I'm an advocate for Black love. I'll say it unapologetically. But we have to get to a point where those voices that are saying we value love, when you hear the Wale singing and things like that, we have to promote that kind of music more than we do the stuff that's not. So that's my opinion.
I love it. You got anything, Tone? Tone trying not to get in trouble.
We came
I'm soaking in. No, I'm soaking in all this wisdom. Y'all just dropping jewels right now. I hope people are listening. I'm listening. I do have something to say, but at the same time, it starts with listening. And y'all gonna be the reason why I dropped this song called Cinderella Rain.
I like it.
I'm gonna give it to y'all exclusively first, and we'll talk about that later. Anyway,
I like it.
So my thing is this: I do feel like men are naturally gonna go for whatever's raunchy and whatever, because there's a part of us that I'm a dog. Look, Gucci said that. I'm a dog. Look. He said that for a reason, though, and people, when they hear that, they're like, "Oh shit, I'm a dog too." But the dog, the funny part is you get to see later on. I don't know how his marriage is. I can't speak on all that, but Gucci got married. When Gucci got married, that threw people off. Gucci been through jail, been through this, been through that. Gucci, who was big, and then he got slim. And so my thing is allow people to transform. You know, allow them to go through their process. But the funny part is everybody's not a Gucci. Some people, they lay in that. They don't get past that. They call women whatever. That's not cool. It's never cool to get to a point of you a B, you a whatever. But the thing is, there are some women who are cool with that. That's all I can say. They like, yo, all right, well, shoot. It is what it is. And guess what? That's how I make my money. Or that's how I do my thing. Call me whatever, but I'm for the streets. And there's some women, you got to search for them, though. And the man who finds a wife, if we talking about marriage, who finds.
It finds a good thing.
Because when you find her, then it's like, oh, okay, she ain't like that. I saw this, I saw that, I've been through that. But she not for that. She don't get down like that. She's not going to be talked to like that. And then now you got to up your game. You know?
Yeah.
So it depends on what the culture is pushing towards the majority wanting to think it's a party. Life is a party. Right. It is sometimes. I enjoy them days where, hey, turn up. But it's not a party every day. Right. It's some mundane stuff. It's some who gonna cook tonight stuff. It's kids. If you talking about kids, you can't raise no kids with that girl.
Yeah,
that's all I'm saying.
Everything is not an Instagrammable moment, and that's what we, you know, like that's what we are right now. I wrote this on Monday, so we do with Good Steward Apparel, we do a counterculture newsletter, and it's funny, like the topic that we own, it reminds me of what I talked about in the newsletter. I talked about identity crisis. Like we are going through an identity crisis. And I've been going back, you know, Holy Spirit been bringing me back to the beginning of the Bible. Never knew I could learn so much about just the story of God, you know, creating the earth and Adam and Eve, you know, kind of all these things. You think a lot of times we think that's the driest part of the Bible. We want to hear about people getting healed and you know, parting seas and all the other stuff. But it is so much important information that is in that beginning. Because if we think about, you know, we think about Adam and Eve, we think about the story of Adam and Eve, and it started this identity crisis because one, the Eve was tricked because the snake told her, like, if she ate from this tree, she would be like God. And we go backwards when it created Adam in his likeness. Let us create him in our likeness. So we go through, this is part of this identity crisis. We go through trying to find value of greatness and all these other things when it's already in us. Mm-hmm. And then the other part that really sticks out to me is she ate the fruit. The reason she ate the fruit because it was pleasing to her eyes. That is where we are right now in this culture. Like, it's all about what feels good. And if you've been on this earth for a little while, you know that what feels good is not always what's good for you. Mm-mm. And that gets you in trouble. So I think that, you know, it's like it just reminds me so much. Like we are in this identity crisis. I know definitely for myself, because if you can trick somebody and lower their self-esteem and degrade them and not really let them recognize their fire, like that's going to distract them from really doing what that God-given purpose. And I think that is the agenda, you know, all around for most things. All right, let's jump into this next question. How do we change it, y'all? How do we change it? I want to take the first one, because one of the things that is so frustrating to me, man, is, you know, I have daughters. One of the things that is so frustrating to me is how we put so much on women. Like I do think it is, you know, you can dress how you want to dress, but a man will objectify women if she comes out in a paper bag. He gonna find something to look at. He He'll look at her ankles, her calves. He gonna find something to look at. But we put everything on women. Like men don't have self-control. Like the other thing we talked about, do you have to look? Like the thing that separates us from animals is self-control. One of the things I've been telling my kids, it is one of the fruits of the spirit. Like in our current culture, self-control is a superpower. Like we have self-control, but we put everything on the women, and especially in church, like her wearing that short dress is messing up your salvation. Like there's an appropriate way to dress and all these other things, but everything can't be on the women. And I I had to really look at me having daughters, telling my daughters, these are little kids. You tell little kids, okay, don't wear that, don't wear that. Like, why should I have to tell my daughter, especially if you have, as girls start getting curvy, why I gotta tell my daughter not to wear these clothes, especially if it's appropriate, because some perv might look at her. Like everything can't be on the doggone on women and girls. Like, what is that teaching them? Like, we have to change this culture and really treat men like they have self-control. We're not animals, man.
Right. You mind if I say something to that?
Yes, sir. That's what we're here for.
This is the thing, man. I feel like on one end, and excuse me, because I might just bounce around to this. On one side, men are meant to be pursuers, and that's good if you know what that means. Protect, pursue, all of that stuff. But if you're pursuing, like, for example, we talked about this before, king, queen kind of stuff, like lion, lioness. A lion, I look at how lions do stuff. It ain't cute. It's like, I'm going for it. Well, I don't care. Look, I might even make a mistake. I'm going for it. So I feel like some of us are miseducated on what it looks like to go. So if I'm going for something, and I'm going for something that's not one, oh, she looked like this. Oh, she dressed like that. I personally don't do that. Personally. I ain't gonna lie to you. The flesh, we talking about some spiritual stuff, that flesh in me gonna be like, ooh. But the man in me gonna be like, nah, bro. Because who is that person? You gotta unpack all that stuff too. You got whatever. But even for the people who don't want to do that, if I want to just go for it, say that young teenage person that's on the chat. You know what I'm saying? Look, I see girls in the lunchroom like that. They be wearing whatever. They be doing whatever. It's just like, come on, bro. Because guess what? I had a talk with my dad today about how young he was when he had me. Mm-hmm. Then we looked at how young his parents were when they had him. And it was a continual thing. Like, yo, people were younger and younger and younger. Like, you like 17 years old having kids, for real? So we're trying to break a pattern. And that's why I'm here with you. I love the fact, like, the stuff that you're saying, all the things that we're talking about are so important. And I think that it's important for any person, if they have the self-control, and even if they don't, we got to make sure we tap in with them. If they don't, to not make some of those same mistakes,
Yeah, because and it starts, with how we train our boys up. Stop making it like, as guys, it's a game. Like, to go out there and get women, and like it's a game. Like, and you want to put points on the board. You want to be cool and everything like that. We got to stop making it look like a game.
I agree.
Yeah, I agree. My friend and I were talking earlier, it's like we're trophies. Like, it's all about the win, the prize. And that's while it is an incentive, for us, but it shouldn't be just about the win. Like you said, it shouldn't be, I got this, we're not objects. Like you said, it's as though you're back to objectifying us when you look at it that way. I did want to pivot back real quick when you were talking about how I don't remember exactly what you were saying, but what was relevant that I wanted to add was the piece where, if you go all the way back to slavery, where when we were enslaved, they were trying to demasculate, the men. So, and I tear the families apart. All of that is, it's relevant to what you were saying earlier. Do you remember that point that you were making earlier?
Yeah. And I also talk about that. They were demasculating men, but they were also, again, treating women like property and having black men, the enslaved black men to be in on it because they were breeding. They were breeding us like dogs. Right. You get the biggest, strongest man that works the hardest, and you want more of them. So you bring a bunch of women in there, and you just have them have sex with all these women, and you just you breeding humans. So
that's why it's so important to build our relationships, build the man, and then to come back to what we were saying just a minute ago, the both of you. I think that's why when it comes to music and relationships, it's not just on the men, like you said, but it's not just on the women, like you said. But I think it's important for us as parents, which is something else, but something different, because the dynamics of households have changed, right? But as parents, in the day, it was our responsibility to raise our children to go from boys to men and from girls to women. It's as though that part is missing now, and it shows in everything that we do. But because, like Tone said, the boy you might look, but the man is like, you look differently. And I think that's a big point, because like I said, we have to go from boys to men, and we have to go from girls to women, but that has to be taught to us, and it's not being taught to us. What is being taught is that we're being objectified, and that's what has to change. So I think we have to change the language. And even though the dynamics of family has changed, there's a lot of single parent family households. There's a lot of young men. There's a lot of women raising boys, which need to go from boys to men. There's a lot of women that are raising single mothers that are raising girls. And then there's fathers also that are out there that are raising kids, as single fathers. But I think they're just, we're going to be boys and we're going to be girls, but there has to be that transition. And it's as though we're not we're not raising kids to be grown anymore. It's like they're just existing. It's like we forgot that when my child turns 18, she should be able to go on her own. She's an adult at that age as far as the states are concerned. So she should be able to conduct herself as an adult. When she goes to college, she should be able to conduct herself as an adult. You shouldn't be still of childlike mind to the extent that some of these 18-year-olds are now. And it shouldn't be, oh, I want my baby to stay home. I don't want him to go. No, he's grown. Well, he's not, he's a young adult, but it's time to go. And I think when we get back to the dynamics of family, get back to relationships, get back to it takes a village, and get back to I am raising you with a purpose, not just raising you, then a lot of this would change.
Yeah, I look, I am one of those parents that's a little different. Like, I ain't trying to kick him out when he turned 18. Like, because how much do you really know when you're 18? Like, my son left, he moved away, and I always remind him, like, if things get hard, you can always come back home. Like, I feel like, enough, like me growing up, I did not have an emergency plan. Nobody I can go stay with. If I didn't make it, I was going to be homeless. I was like, you ain't got to get to that, bro. You can come home. If it get bad, I ain't teaching, we ain't got to teach them to be, irresponsible or whatever. But you definitely gotta be different. I want to get on what Shamika said right here, and I want to get on this because I'm gonna tell y'all some game to men, ladies. I'm gonna tell y'all some game. All right, y'all ready? Mm-hmm. Men have low self-esteem. Mm-hmm. Why do you think? And she's saying like men are taught to value their sperm and their bodies. Like we taught to go out there and skeet everywhere. Like, we ain't valuing nothing. Go out there and make, 200 babies. Like, we took what God said, the wrong way to go out there and multiply. We multiplied in the wrong way. Like, men are have low self-esteem. And the reason I say that, because when we are going out there and we're playing this game of going out and trying to get all these women, we're looking for value, because the culture tells us that our value is being wanted by a woman and how much money we make. Like that's what it means for the culture. That's what it means to be a man. Like, you got to have somebody that wants you, and you got to be making that paper. And I know often women like to think like, oh, men are so confident. Nope. Nope. And I'll tell you another example. Ask the guys that are out there playing the game. Ask them, who is that woman? If they go to the club, and who is that woman? She might not be the best looking, but who is that woman that you can call at midnight if you don't get any other numbers? She gonna come right over. It's all about looking for value. Women give us self-esteem, and that's something
you going
change.
off with it too, though. You ain't playing no games tonight.
Look, I told you. Look, you gonna get all fire. We not giving no smoke.
He going off tonight.
It's so true, though.
I love it, though. No, I love it, and we all need it. And guess what? I will attest, as the brother on the call too. It's like that. The thing is, though. That's why in hip hop and whatever, it's about money, power, respect, the key to life. When we look back at stuff like that, why people say that? How much money you got? What's your stature? You know what I mean? Like, you can't say nothing. You got one girl. Why you ain't got 3, 4?
Yeah.
But there are good men and good women. And that's the hard part. You got to find it, though. But in the culture, oh my gosh, we oversaturated.
Yeah.
We so oversaturated, bro. With that.
And we have made that a rite of passage. You got a little boy, and this is the thing that kills me. Like, I have one of my daughters had like one of my other friends, it was a male that they grew up together. They were same age. And people say, oh, they're going to be girlfriend and boyfriend. Like, what are you talking about? Like, they're little kids. Can we let them be little kids?
Right.
Like, can they be little kids?
What that mean? They wanted them to come together and y'all to be a.
But people you've heard that. You heard people say that with other little kids. Oh, that's his little girlfriend. He ain't got no little girlfriend. He don't even know what that means. He just emulated what his parents do.
Right.
But just to what you said, Al, earlier was I got a loss for words, but it was so important because the music even teaches young people that they have to have money, that they have to have the bag, but at 12 years old, 11 years old, 10 years old, you're not supposed to be hustling for that kind of money. You're supposed to be learning how to grow up. So I think that's another part of where we have to change the language so we can change these lives.
Yeah, and go to school.
Right.
Stop worrying about getting the bag. Go to school.
Right.
Go play outside. Go play with some G.I. Joes. Stop worrying about the bag.
Right. You trying to get cars and girls and money at
quick.
10. Where are you going? You're going home.
And this is what pushes them out there to to go join gangs, go sell drugs, do this stuff.
100%.
And for a man, we also have some unspoken like pressure that sometimes nobody has ever said it, but even at 12 years old, we think that we supposed to be the provider. We supposed to make the money. If daddy gone, I need to step up. I need to be the man of the house. Even if nobody has ever said it, it is in our self-conscious, and we start to behave that way because it's in our DNA. That trauma is in our DNA, and we have to we have to have these conversations. One, to see how we got here, and then think about how we change it.
It's real.
Shamika said, "What makes a man?" That's a whole book on its own, Shamika.
You had another comment there. I think Kimberly had a comment. I didn't get.
I like to, and one of the things I don't know what pastor or whoever said this. He took it back to he took it biblical. When Adam was created, he had a job, he had a place to stay, he had responsibility. Like he had all this stuff before Eve came.
Look,
we
a
would've-
name, a title, ain't no look. Tell me who I am.
Yeah.
None of that.
And I am not one of these. I'm not one of these guys either, because I've seen these posts where these guys say, "Well, if she gotta pay any money on bills, you ain't no real man." Nah, we ain't doing that, fam. Because like rent is high.
It is.
And everybody ain't making that bank. I ain't saying that, but you gotta be doing something even before you get her, before she come along. Like you gotta have your stuff together.
Right. But it works both ways. We can't come to the table saying you're gonna pay for everything I have. That's not how this works.
That ain't what women be present sometimes. Look, this could be a whole nother show because we've also can have that conversation like women and this is where the conditioning has come in. Like women think that is what all they have to offer is their body, their looks. And like that's what they think they bring to the table,
right?
And I would tell you, like most men, like that ain't gonna last for so long for most men.
We have to value ourselves more past that, though. Also,
yeah,
right.
Yeah, I want to ask in the context of hip hop and music and culture. As a woman growing up and seeing what's what, you're listening to songs, you see. Like, is it like, well, shoot, I'm a dance? You know how brothers might be like, shoot, I might need to grab a ball to make my way out the hood. Like, is it like, I need to dance or I need to, go to school? Because that was the thing for me too. Like, I got to go to school, bro. Get your GED to go to college. You know what I mean? Do something. But it's like, how does that work as well for a woman? I'm only asking you since you in your skin, in your beauty. How does that work, for a young girl growing up so I can get a little bit of insight?
Speak on it, Queen. Speak on it.
I had a different childhood, but I had a sister that listened to, heavy metal and rock. So I grew up listening to different genres of music. I was very, diverse when it came to that. So I listened to a lot of different things. And so when it came to our culture and the music, I just really gravitated towards, the Queen Latifahs, the MC Lights. I still like, what Roxanne, Roxanne. I know I like those people, but I think it also has a lot to do with the way my mother and father raised me. They carried themselves a certain way. And so I just, from the beginning, there's always just been a certain type of music, even Diggable Planets, stuff like that. I just really gravitated towards different music. Yes, there were other people around me that kind of stayed in one lane. And I think that's sometimes not as healthy. I think we should be more diverse with our music and what we listen to as a culture. I think it would be healthy for us. But just for me as a little girl, I if it was constructive, that's what I gravitated towards. And again, I think that has a lot to do with the way my mother and father raised me. But even listening to the heavy metal and the rock, some of it was love. Rock love, yeah, that existed. But
yeah, because going back, like we are conditioned. A lot of we assume a lot of things is not true. Like because of music, especially rap music. Like if you look at rap music, we think a lot of people think like the black experiences in the hood, when only 22% of black people are poor. Like 75% are middle class and going up there. Like so, most of us that ain't even our reality. But music plays a lot of role in driving that message. And the other thing, like a lot of times, like women or whoever is listening to music, because often it is also pushed on us that we are only the facilitators of hip hop and rap music when we created it all, even country.
Right.
I was listening to Wu-Tang and Green Day.
I hear you. I do.
That's good.
But I said earlier I had a sister, but also I think what played a huge role for me was having a mother and father. I was one of those that was fortunate enough to grow up. My parents were together for 34 years. And you know, my father showed me what love looks like. My mother taught me how to handle my business, but they taught me something, you know, and so I just always had a different mindset, I guess you would say. And even when I listen to, you know, I still listen to, you know, some other stuff, but but as a little girl, I really like when Queen Latifah stepped on the scene talking about ladies first, and you know, and MC Light and those folks, I loved them. But I still like, you know, the KRS-One and listening to anyone that had a message, like you said, Tone. We had messages in the music back then. So anyone that had a message, I wanted to hear it because I love to learn. But that was instilled in me, you know. So, but we're not instilling in our children that your education means something. You know, it has value. My friend and I were talking. You know, she's in the education system, and she was talking about how now, you know, kids go to school and they don't even realize you're going to school to learn. You know, they're going to school thinking, I can't wait to see my boyfriend the next day, you know, or what kind of shoes am I going to wear? No, that's not what it's about.
Absolutely.
Like, you don't even realize what your environment is for. It's for education. And yes, that means something. Now we can talk about public schools another day, but nonetheless, it's still school. You know, it's still education.
It is.
I think that the whole mindset has to change. And that's why I had started, you know, the organization about reconstruction of the mind.
Look,
and that's why I love coffee and collaborations, and I'm glad to be on this platform.
Thank you for answering that too, because you know, when it's personal, I think people, once again, when I think about music as a hip hop artist, I share my testimony. You know, it's not always clean cut, whatever, but there's standards. I have my personal standards. Right. You know, somebody else can be like, why'd you say that, man? That's so, like, people gonna think about you this way now, or they gonna think, you know. And I've went through those little paths, but the funny part is, it's not B's and H's, and you know, it's not about this girl, she F her. But the thing about it that I've noticed is people are emotional. And if you're emotional, I want to hear something that fits that emotion. So for the ladies, if they feeling the way, they're gonna go to that Keisha Cole. Am I right? Am I right? You know what I mean? Yeah, they're gonna let you know that song that I want to let you know I'm pissed, I'm done, and I'm gonna play it. So I think guys have a certain way too, where even though it's not healthy, it's not the best way, but the microphone means you can say what you want to say, and people who get paid to do that, like, and this, it's funny because that's why I mentioned reality TV earlier. Reality TV was not a thing until the 90s. It was not a thing. But when Real World came on, then it's just like, okay, now we gonna see what people going through, and you connect with a certain person or another person, you get what they saying, and it became more and more raunchy as time went on, more and more. And now we see reality TV for what it is today. And it's the same thing in music. What do people want? As someone commented about that earlier, what people want and why do they want that is a deeper question. You know, why do we want to see that?
It goes back to what I was talking about before. You know, we want pleasure. Like we want pleasure. That's why the like button exists. That's why the heart exists. You know, all these are things that kind of go to this mindset of we want pleasure. And that is where we are right now in this culture. And we have to be the ones to present that counterculture. You know, everything that we're doing is about presenting that counterculture. We got to stop feeding people candy.
Right.
Like we got to start giving them some meat. You may lose some dollars in the beginning. You got to find, you know, your tribe. But that's one of the things we want to build here is to build that counterculture where we are promoting each other, we're supporting each other, and you stop going out there eating all that candy and rot your teeth.
Right, 100%. We have to stop doing what everybody else is doing just because I want to be in the mainstream and in the group that's making money and that's noticed. But I also think that comes from the upbringing. Like you said, you're looking for value, you're looking for attention, you're looking for, you know, someone to notice you. Hey, look at me, because someone didn't pay enough attention to you when you were a child. You know, it all roots from the dynamics of family have changed. But I do think that I lost my thought. But I do think that to what you were saying, when it comes to music, say the last thing that you just said. I'm sorry, I'm being real transparent here. What was the last thing that you just said?
Are you talking about me or Al?
Al, the tail end of what Al just said.
Oh, about, stop feeding people candy?
Yes. Thank you. It used to be, if you stood out from the rest, that was a plus. But now if you're a follower, then it's all good. That this is where you're supposed to be, in this lane. I think that there has to be more independent artists. We got to buy back the industry if you're just talking about music, but I think there also should be more independent artists, and those artists that aren't afraid to go against the grain, that aren't afraid to just stand out. It's okay to talk about relationships. It's okay to talk about family. It's okay to put value on what we're supposed to put value on. We have to support it also, but we have to magnify those voices. That's how we change the language, because if you just keep doing what everyone else is doing, you're not going to get a different outcome. So we really have to, these artists have to change and stand out. Don't be afraid to stand out. And if you lose some sales on one side, we're going to have to figure it out. But we're going to have to also pick you. As our culture, we've got to support these people, whatever it takes to talk about.
Hey man, look, do it for the counterculture. Look, I'm gonna keep saying that thing. Do it for the counterculture.
For the counterculture. Now, I got to switch up my language. I said for the culture. You like, nah. It's for the counterculture. So I know better. I learned better, bro. I learned something.
I like it, man. I like it.
Yeah,
all right, so if you guys look, this is the longest show that we have ever done, but it's the season finale. I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Everybody in the chat and the audience, I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Tanya, Tone, I appreciate you guys rocking with me. Tell people, Tanya, where to find you. What's your website? Like Kimberly said, we love the collaboration, and we build this counterculture. And these two individuals on here are all about that counterculture life. So, support them. All
right. Look, it's the real Tone Touch on everything. That's it. Type it in. One word. I know we're a Google community. So the real Tone Touch as one word. Don't put no spaces in it. You'll get everything. My IG, my YouTube, look, Spotify. If you put Tone Touch, all that stuff is on there. And there's so much more to come. Thank you so much too, Al.
Right.
No problem. I put it in the chat. The real Tone Touch, not the Tone Touch number 2.
No. You gotta put me number uno.
All right, Ms. Tanya, tell them how to find you.
Okay, Walker Reconstruction LLC.com, or on Facebook, it's also the same, and on Instagram, it's the same, Walker Reconstruction LLC. And then the only thing that's different is on Twitter. And I'll be honest, like I said, I'm not that active on Twitter, but it is Walker and then Recon, RECON LLC. But if you at least look up Walker Reconstruction LLC, Facebook, Instagram, and .com, you'll find me and you can learn more about me. But I also want to say, like Tone said, thank you, Al the Great, for this platform and having us. I love the Counterculture Show. I love the movement that you're starting, and I love coffee and collaborations and what they've been doing for years. So just thanks for having me, and that we're the season finale.
Season finale, y'all brought it in. Brought all the fire, no smoke. So if you're watching me and you just happen to find us, make sure you go back and look at the old shows, catch the replays. It is all about the fire, no smoke. That's what we're doing here. I want to leave you with this. Sometimes, I say my name is Al the Great, and it took me a while to get to this point. It's something I'm still working on. But I want you to know that I think you're great. God thinks you're great. It is important that you know that you're great, no matter what package you came in this world in, and whether the culture accepts it or not. It is important that you understand God is the manufacturer of greatness. No duds. 365 days a year, 24/7. God manufactures greatness. You just have to walk in it. Make sure you do that every day. And catch us in season 2.
Amen.
Well, thank you, man. Thank you so much.
This has been a Coffee and Collaborations media production.